So I was watching this video from Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy is a former Green Beret. He's a former American Special Forces. And he did a video recently saying, okay, guys, let's not do violence. Let's unite. Let's show the world that we are united. Let's not resort to violence or any sort of a vicious rift or any sort of vicious polarization. And I was looking at the comments. This is the first time that I've ever seen a Tim Kennedy video get mainly dislikes. So here's the video, right? This guy is very popular. He has been on the Alex Jones show. He's been on Joe Rogan a number of times. I mean, he's a pretty big figure within the United States and especially within conservative / patriotic circles. And so here he is giving a message that is civil, that is balanced, rational, and that is really of a cool head. And so here's the video. And people hate him for this. A lot of people are hating on him for this. So let's just give it a listen.
I know everybody wants a ton of information right now. Obviously we want to see the truth, understand what happened, why it happened, who it was that was involved in this. But while those facts are beginning to emerge, I hope every single American just takes pause. We stop for a minute. We recognize how divided that we have been. And we all can agree that any form of political violence is detestable. It's disgusting. It's not American.
And the video stops. Anyway,
It's
so
disgusting.
he's giving a reasonable position. Let's not resort to violence. Let's not have any sort of recourse to violence. Let's not use violence. Let's not kill anybody. This is reasonable, right? Like, don't kill people. Don't do terrorism. And look at the comments. And this guy knows war, by the way. This guy fought in Iraq. He knows war. He understands how absolutely hellish war is. All these people who are talking about civil war in America, most of them have never experienced warfare. Most of them have not experienced warfare. Most of them don't know war. They think it's all just fun and games. They think it's going to be like the movie The Patriot or something. Okay, so here are the comments. All right, let's give these a read. And you would think, we're living in a civilized society, right? People for the most part would be saying, yeah, Tim, absolutely, I agree. No. Most people are saying, Tim, you're wrong on this one. Yeah, I don't know, Tim. A line has been crossed. I'm sorry, but I disagree completely. America was built on the blood of men who would not stand for what we see every day. So this guy is going to go fight the U.S. government or what? This dude's going to go fight the U.S. government? This guy's going to go fight drones, or how is this going to work, Nate Hansel? And even freaking Randy Couture, Captain America, is disagreeing with this. I mean, I'm shocked. Well, not really, considering that America is a country that is filled with mentally ill people, people who are unhinged, people who are radical. America was founded on radicalism. Here's what people need to understand about America. America is a country that was founded on radicalism. The first settlers here who would begin the process of the life or the birth of the United States were Puritans. Oh, Puritans didn't find America, but the Puritans were the settlers. And when we talk about the origins of America, we always go back to the Puritans. So the Puritans are a part of the lore of the United States, and the Puritans were fanatics. And then a lot of the people who would do the revolution were people who were believers in rebellion. There was revolution. They didn't mind seeing blood. They didn't mind enacting violence. They didn't mind scalping British soldiers. So America is a country that was founded by radicals, founded on radicalism. It was, in its independence, it was a country that was based off of the Enlightenment, and the Enlightenment was radical. And in its day, I mean, in our time, when we read Enlightenment thoughts, we consider them to be quite normal, but back in the day, the Enlightenment was a radical ideological movement. It was a movement that was against monarchy. It was against institutional religion. And these were institutions, monarchism and institutional religion. these were things that were very, very normal in the world in those days. But in those days, the idea of the Enlightenment, which was really overthrowing monarchy and overthrowing institutional religion, it was very radical for its time. So America is a country that's founded on radicalism. And so it's not surprising to see radicalism taking shape again in the United States. It's a cycle. History works in cycles. Randy Couture saying, while I love this, Tim, the divide was already too big for most to realize where the real enemy is. They want us to fight each other. Okay, so if they want us to fight each other, then why are we entertaining the idea of fighting? And this guy, Amiri King, some weirdo, shut the F up, you gun control advocate. Tim Kennedy is not a gun control advocate. Tim Kennedy is someone who definitely is enthusiastic about guns. This guy agrees with Tim, so here's one rational person. No, they are counting on everyone turning their cheek yet again. At some point, enough is enough, and a stand is made. Otherwise, today is just the beginning of what's coming. So Scott C. Ford wants to fight the government. Mr. NASCAR, is he going to go fight the government? He going to fight drones? Is he going to shoot drones? Is he going to shoot drones with his shotgun, with bird shot? Oh, I got the slugs with the bird shot. We'll use the bird shot to take out the drones. This reminds me of the time when I debated this one girl who was mad at me because I said that this Armenian guy whose father was murdered, this Armenian guy whose son was murdered by Azeri soldiers because he was too stubborn to leave his village. And she disagreed with me on this. So there was this Armenian guy who refused to leave his village. His son begged him to leave the village. He refused to leave. The Azeris took over his region, took over his town, and they murdered him. So now, actually, no, I think they murdered his son. Yeah, I want to say they murdered his son. Somebody got murdered because someone was too stubborn to leave their village. And this lady said, "You're wrong, Ted. You shouldn't have said that." Well, why am I wrong? She said, because people need to stand and fight. Well, if a NATO military force is controlling your region and you want to go fight them because with a shotgun or with a rifle or whatever, you're not going to win. And she said, no. The Armenians, because this was during the war between the Azeris and the Armenians over in Nagorno-Karabakh back in 2020, et cetera, et cetera. She said, no, the Armenians should have stood up and fought. And I said, because of that way of thinking, this man's son was killed, or this man's father was killed. I don't remember. Somebody was killed. And she said, no, they should have fought. And I said, the Azeris had high-tech NATO drones. Those people weren't going to win. And she said, no, you can fight a drone. I said, how do you fight a drone? She said, you can use a shotgun. This is, oh my God. This is what we're dealing with here. This is the line of thinking, the level of insanity that we're dealing with here. Well, you can fight a drone. How? You just get a shotgun. You get a shotgun. Shotgun. Here we go. Tim, we all have been doing... Oh, sorry, hold on. Tim, all we have been doing is taking breaths and taking the high road for almost 10 years. What has that gotten us? Literally nothing. So what's civil war going to bring you, Mr. Just Jeff? This guy's going to go Army vet. This guy's going to go fight the government. So what's civil war going to bring us? Is civil war going to bring us what? More happiness? Dude, you're writing on Twitter. You're living a privileged life right now. And you want to go what? You're living a privileged life right now. And you want to go what? You want to go face the government and then cause the deaths of millions of people? Have you ever looked into the Syrian civil war? Has anyone here ever looked into the Syrian civil war? We literally had a civil war in Syria. You can see all the footage. You can see the videos of the atrocities that were committed in the Syrian civil war. You can see the pits of bodies. You can see the numbers of those killed, how hundreds of thousands of people were butchered in the Syrian civil war. People were beheaded. There were mass executions. And that's something that you think is good? I've never been in war, but I'm smart enough to know that war is hell. Isn't that what they always told us back in the day? War is hell. So you want to bring hell on earth? So we are supposed to shake hands with people that are mad the guy missed Trump's head? No one is saying that. Holy shit. This is what I hate about these people. There's like 5 videos on the internet of leftards saying that it's too bad the guy missed. And this person, normal American, I guess this is a normal American nowadays. I guess a normal American is just a lunatic. This guy is misconstruing what Tim Kennedy was saying, and he's accusing Tim Kennedy of saying that we should shake hands with people who are mad that the guy missed Trump's head. Well, that's not what Tim Kennedy is saying. He's saying that we should, generally speaking, have unity. Just because a guy's a Democrat doesn't mean you go out and shoot him. Just because a guy's a Republican doesn't mean you go out and shoot him. I mean, this is simple. Like, people, this is the problem with oh my God. See, people have asked me, Ted, why don't you stream every day? This is why I don't want to stream every day. The main reason why I don't want to stream every day is I don't want to deal with freaking people like this. The problem with a lot of people, this is what a lot of people do. They take what you say, then they misconstrue it. Then that misconstrued version becomes what you said, and then they try to corner you based off of the misconstrued statement or based off of the words or the statements that they put in your mouth. Okay, it's called a straw man. People straw man way too much. And here's the thing. If you look at my record, you will see that I have condemned Republicans and I've condemned Democrats. You will never find a point where I have said Republicans or right-wing terrorists were right. You will never find me not condemning what happened in Charlottesville back in 2017. I was on that, and I was condemning the far right. I have been against the far right for a long time. Hell, when I was in high school, I wrote an entire book exposing eugenics and Nazism, talking about the intricacies of those ideologies. I've been on this for a long time. Now, did I know everything all the time? No, none of us have ever known everything all the time, right? None of us know everything all the time. We're always constantly learning new things. But I have never, ever supported right-wing terrorism or anything like that. And when Charlottesville happened, I said, guys, this is evil. People were with tiki torches saying Jews will not replace us and all this crap. And then there was a guy who got his car and he rammed his car and killed a woman because she was one of the counter-protesters against the far right. It's sickening. All right? And I was always against it. Here's the thing. When right-wing violence happens, where's the right wing? They're either saying that, well, it's a conspiracy theory, or they're not saying anything about it, or they will actually try to make excuses for the violence, and then you will have some people actually saying that it's a good thing that right-wing violence happens. Okay, and I've seen all this. I've seen all these different examples. It's like when the Christchurch massacre happened, and you had a guy go into a mosque and mow down dozens and dozens of people. By the way, when oh my God, when that massacre happened, I didn't hear any conservatives saying, this is freaking wrong, guys. This is wrong. I didn't hear that. In fact, I think Milo, the sodomite, I think he said something like, this is what happens when you allow too many immigrants in. He was making excuses for mass murder. Making excuses for it. And so that's the problem, you see, is that both sides are either supporting violence or only condemn the opposing side when it does violence. You see what I'm saying? But they're not condemning their own side. That's the problem. And here's the thing, is that Joe Biden came out and said what happened to Trump was wrong. Kamala Harris said the same thing. All these Democrats have said the same thing. But you see, it doesn't calm things down because everyone is just on edge. Everyone's on edge, and everyone needs to yes, Tim Kennedy is right. Everyone needs to calm the hell down. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when in San Antonio, Texas, they had a situation where the mayor of San Antonio came out and said, there is a fuel shortage going on. Now, there was no fuel shortage. That was bullshit. There was no fuel shortage. But you know what happened? And I saw this with my own eyes. People by the droves lining up to fuel their tanks. I had never seen it. To this day, I've never seen anything like it. To this day, I have not seen anything like it. Every gas station, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars lined up in every single gas station. Why? Because someone told them there was a fuel shortage. This is how stupid people are. There was no fuel shortage. And if everyone just had calmed down, then none of that would have happened. And the mayor himself came out and said, "Oh, it was an accident, guys." Don't you know who you're dealing with? You're dealing with Americans. You're dealing with people who are on edge when someone tells them that there is a lack of toilet paper. They lose their minds. This is why I don't like to leave the house as much as I used to, because I don't know if I'm going to get shot. That's why you have these mass shootings in America. I don't know if I'm going to get shot. I don't know. All I can say, one of the things I will say about this shooting, this attempted assassination, thank God it was a white guy. I'm gonna say it. Thank God it was a white guy. Because imagine if it was a Middle Eastern dude. If this was a Middle Eastern guy, they'd be crosshairs on all of us. Crosshairs on every freaking Middle Eastern dude. Anyone who looks Middle Eastern. Oh, I'm Puerto Rican. Nah, you look Middle Eastern. They would have been crosshairs on us. Thank God. If it was any minority, it would have been a conversation on immigration. Dark-skinned people are the problem. Blah blah. It would have been freaking insane. Thank God it was a white guy. Because now that it's a white guy, they're talking about Antifa. Okay, thank God. If it was a Middle Eastern dude, it would have been, Arabs are, terrorists are taking over America. Crosshairs on all of us. If it was an immigrant, it would have been immigrants are ruining in America. I mean, it would have been insane. Because it's a white guy, the right wing can't get a hard on because it's not an immigrant, so they have to kind of soften their tone and say, well, it's these libs and blah blah blah. But if it was an immigrant, it would have been a wet dream for a right wing. It would have been a right wing wet dream. Right wing wet dream. Imagine if it was a Muslim guy who crossed the border from Mexico, went into El Paso, and then traveled all the way to Pennsylvania to shoot Trump. Imagine if that was the case. Oh my God, we would never be hearing the end of it. We wouldn't be hearing the end of it. Oh, Muslims, immigration, close the border down, blah blah blah. Immigrants are the problem. Let's go back to nativism. Every single provocateur from Mark Levine to Ben Shapiro would be on it. Let's go to more of these comments. So some people are reasonable enough here. Right on, brother. Okay, I'm glad there's some reasonable people here. This guy says, nope, I am leaning right. No way. Too much harassment on the left. Yes, and then tell me how that roof wasn't smothered and wrecked, blah, blah, blah. Here. Okay, so there's some reasonable people here. Thank God. This guy says, nope. So here's the thing. If you want to have a civil war in America, listen. You're not going to have a civil war in this country unless a good chunk of the U.S. military breaks away in a massive political rift and then goes against the government, right? So you basically have to have the formation of a country within a country sort of thing. You would also have to have some kind of outside external powers arming the rebels, kind of, just like what happened in Syria. You had NATO coming in, arming the rebels, and then Russia came in and supported the government. So a civil war requires a lot more than just people with guns. You need a major rift in the political apparatus. You need people in the U.S. military breaking away from the government and then forming their own military, things of that nature. What I foresee in this country is major civil unrest where you have radicals with guns shooting people, violence on the streets. I totally foresee this happening in America. And I hate to sound like I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. It is just inevitable, right? This tension between right and left in America, or Democrat, Republican, it just can't go on forever. Something's going to give. Something's going to implode. And I hate to say it. I hope I'm completely wrong. If I'm completely wrong, I hope I'll be thanking God. But my fear is that America is going to end up having some major violence within its borders. They're going to kill each other. Not all Americans. I'm not saying this is going to happen in every state of America, but I'm saying that there's going to be some massive pockets of violence in the United States. That I do believe. And it's horrifying. And you have these idiots who are thinking that that's a great thing. They never even been in war. Most of them have never been in war. They don't understand war. Just look at the Syrian civil war. Look at the Sudanese civil war that's ongoing right now. Look at the violence in Gaza. If you think you're going to be able to fight drones or you're going to be able to fight a trained military as advanced as the United States government, all you're going to be dealing with is a big pile of blood, big puddle of blood. It's not going to look good. It's a nightmare, guys. It really is. And I really hate it. My whole week has been spoiled, really. My entire week has been spoiled because of this. I hate thinking about this topic. I really do. But this is the world that we live in. You know, it's not just the United States. This sort of insanity is happening throughout the world, whether you go to much of Europe, whether you go to the Middle East. I mean, this is the way of the world. The way of the world is radicalism. That's what's happening. Now, Ronald Reagan did get shot, but the thing is that Ronald Reagan didn't live in times that we live in now. He didn't live in the times that we live in now. He didn't. Nowadays, people are much more radical. There are all sorts of Overton windows that are being constantly widened. Thresholds are constantly being surpassed. We are just breaking taboo. We are breaking boundaries. And racism has become mainstream. It has recently entered the mainstream. It is now very common to see racism on the internet, on Twitter. Just calls for civil war, revolution. I mean, it's becoming more and more common. It's pretty crazy, guys. It's pretty crazy. It's not good. You know, it's just not good. But you see this sort of thing happen in human history. For example, you go back to the mid-1800s, there were all these revolutions that broke out in Europe. You go back to the late 1700s, you had the French Revolution, the American Revolution. You go back to the mid-20th century, you had World War I, World War II, or, you know, not just the mid, but within the 20th century, you had two major world wars, over 100 million people dead. These decades of peace that we have been enjoying since the end of the Second World War have been quite unprecedented. I mean, these last 7 decades or so have been very, very unprecedented. Human history is rife with war. In fact, war, before the end of World War II, I think war was the status quo. And like I said, for the past 70 years or so, there have been really just unprecedented years of peace. And I think that's coming to an end. When something is something as peace is so unprecedented, when something as unprecedented as peace has become common and we have become accustomed to it, it's too good. It's too good to last forever. You know, it's too good to last forever. Eventually humans are going to go back to the status quo, which is radicalism and war and just chaos. And if everyone just relaxed and said, listen, there's better ways to live, life is too short, then we would just avoid these problems. But the problem is that people are assholes. That's the problem. People are just assholes. They're retarded. They act worse than animals in a zoo. And that's at the end of it all, that is the problem. That is the source of it all. Unending ego, discontentment, and really the refusal to just accept a simple life. Nobody wants to have a simple life. Everybody wants complexity, and everybody wants their way or the highway, and it never ends. It just never ends. It never ends. But I see radicalism only getting worse. That's what I see in the future. And I hope my hope is that Donald Trump wins and we can just, the right will relax for 4 years. Because let's be real here. The right is scarier than the left. I truly believe that. I think the right is scarier than the left. Now, why do I say that? Because anytime the right wing decides to do violence, it's always worse than what lefties do. Yes, lefties will destroy property and things like that. The right wing will bring Christchurch massacre. That's what the right wing would bring. The right wing. Am I Japanese? All of a sudden, the right wing will bring about massacres like what we saw in Christchurch. The right wing will bring about tiki torch rallies, praising Hitler, they will bring mass shootings. It's just absolutely horrendous, guys. I refuse to support both sides. The right wing is the side, by the way, that supported Milo. For years, they were supporting a pedophile activist named Milo. The right wing will support people like that Paglia woman. Remember that woman? What was her name? Something Paglia. Camila. What's her name? Camille Paglia. Yeah, the right wing will support someone like that. And she was a lobbyist for NAMBLA. She was an activist for pedophilia. Straight up. I mean, this is who the right wing will support. So and you have right wing lunatics who will come out and say that they're proud Catholics, and the Catholic Church has been an institution supporting pedophilia for decades. So I just refuse to support either side. To me, my Constitution is my life. My president, I'm the president of my own life. I'm not going to support violence because some guy wanted to pay hush money because he got a blowjob and wanted to sniff cocaine off of strippers. I just refuse to play this game. I refuse to do it. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.